Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Classics. This is episode number 1787 and Doubleshot number 1681. Once again, we have a Spider-Man and a Michael Morbius trade. Now, this Spider-Man trade is quite interesting to say the least. Yes, it is actually a series that I've not heard much people say anything about, but I think it's one of the best Spider-Man books ever released. Excuse me. And can you believe this book only came out like 3 years ago? Yeah, and they're doing one for Fantastic Four as well, which basically I believe just wrapped up just recently. Yeah, they just wrapped this up. It's really good. And you might be asking, is the same guy who wrote Fantastic Four Life Story wrote this one? Nope. Fantastic Four Life Story is done by Mark Russell. This miniseries, which had an annual for reason, which, by the way, the annual itself was actually released just last year. Yes. Do not know why the annual was never put into trade, but yeah, I thought it was kind of weird. Yeah. Now this is Spider-Man Life Story, written by Chip Zdarsky and art by Mark Bagley. Great choice for writing artist. Zdarsky, who would basically get humongous amount of experience writing Spider-Man because he wrote him, and he had a couple books he wrote. He had the awesomeness that is his Peter Parker to Spectacular Spider-Man series, which I thought was really, really good. And then got canceled long after he left, and of course appearing in the first volume for his run for Howard the Duck. Good choice of writer. Mark Bagley has got a long experience drawing Spider-Man. As far back as 2000. Yes, as a matter of fact, he was actually one of the artists who I believe it was the third artist who actually did the Nick Spencer run. Yeah, he was one of the three artists who did that 74 issue run. It was him, Ryan Audley, and Patrick Gleason. Yeah. Now, I personally have never met Mark Bagley or Chip Zdarsky, but I've talked to him just a couple times on Facebook. And Zdarsky is a great writer. Now, I love this miniseries. It is so good. It is basically what if Spider-Man aged in real time. Something that the canon Spider-Man cannot freaking do. Because higher-ups are basically stupid when it comes to Spider-Man, comes to something like this. Aging him up. Because each issue takes place every decade. It is roughly 6 issues. Issue 1 is the 60s. Issue 2 is the 70s. 3 is the 80s. 4 is the 90s. 5 is 2000s. And 6 is the 2010s. Fantastic Four Life Story is kind of the same thing too. And each story, it basically fits decade setting. Now, in the case of, they also introduced stuff in this miniseries like Parker Industries. They introduced as far back as like the 80s, that one, which I thought that was interesting. Yep. And here's something though, he actually is married to Mary Jane Watson and they have 2 kids together. Something we can't have in their continuity because some idiot basically says, nope, can't have that because we gotta keep Spider-Man young as possible and have him be a bachelor for life. Because I think that's good storytelling. Yes. Oh yes, I have read the recent issue of Amazing Spider-Man, and I'm not happy with it. At all. I mean, they brought back Jeremy Jr. for that book. Now, I think he was a good writer, but man, that's something else altogether. But this book is pure awesomeness. Like, explores, heck, the 80s one, basically, issue 3, that one's awesome because they reference Kraven's Last Hunt in the issue. They even have basically Secret Wars happening there too. The 60 was quite interesting basically because they have the book set as Peter Parker in college. Yes, in college of all things. This has what Miles Warren. That was later on in the 70s. The very next issue with the whole thing of Clone. Of course, he's dating Gwen Stacy. The first issue and the second issue, he actually is like married to her, and then she supposedly disappears, is never seen again. And then by the 80s, he's married to Mary Jane Watson. At one point, she was supposedly dating Harry, Now, Harry, for some reason, they don't mention if he got married to Liz Allen in this continuity. No, not really. I thought that was kind of weird. Now, Norman does appear in the very first issue of the series. Oh, yeah, and yes, he actually did become the Green Goblin in the very first issue. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you could say this is basically Spider-Man if he was basically aged in real time. That's told by each decade per se. That's most of what it is. We also have various other characters in the book. Now we do reference some have in the regular book, like Flash going off to war. Now here's the fun fact about that one. The thing with that one is that in the very next issue, unlike in the regular continuity, where he actually came back alive and well and basically was a regular supporting character for decades, Flash actually died in Vietnam. Yes, they actually had him die. Yeah, they mentioned he died in 1974 at the age of 30. Yeah, it's like he first appears issue 1, and then they have him die in the very next issue. Yeah. Which I'm like, okay. And also in the book, they also have it where Captain America actually becomes part of the Vietnam effort. Yes, Captain Frickin' America, which I thought that was interesting. Here's the weird thing, though, that Miles Warren, he pretty much in a way does exist in the book. Does do cloning? Yes, he does. Is he loving Gwen Stacy? Yes. Yes, he is. Was they reading to Helena Parker? Helen Parker. Apparently, the one who appeared in the book that she went. Now, apparently, they retconned where the one was short hair. That was actually her. And Ben Riley, he dies issue 5. He first appears issue 2 as Ben Parker and becomes Spider-Man issue 4. And then by issue 5, he dies. He gets killed by Moreland. Yeah, he pops up in the book because it's 2000s. That's when Moreland first showed up, so why not have him show up there? And mixed up with Ezekiel from JMS, which is so amazing. I mean, yeah, some people not be a fan, but I thought it was quite interesting. Overall, this miniseries is fantastic. Yes, I know there's an annual published, but I kind of wish they put that in trade here, but nope, they didn't put it in trade for some reason. That was kind of weird. Now, what ranking do I... Now, I'm going to throw some artwork for Spider-Man The Life Story. Yeah. What ranking do I give this book? 10 out of 10. It is really good. Yes, it is. It is that damn good. Alright, next up is Morbius, the living vampire. The man called Morbius. Yes, this collects basically Amazing Spider-Man 699.1 and the 9-issue second volume of the Morbius the Vampire ongoing series. Which, here's a fun fact for you. This book was actually, when it was launched, shockingly 10 years ago. Yeah, it's been 10 years since this book was first launched. And it was actually the very first book that canceled. Yes, and for the next, it took another year before another book got canceled. Yeah, in 2013, this was the only book that canceled that very year. Which, now is this book bad? Not really per se. It's not as good as some other books. I mean, it's not as good as Volume 3 was awesome. I love Volume 3. I thought it was amazing. This book per se, for some reason, now here's the thing. Despite the fact, yes, you do have Michael Morbius wearing his traditional costume on the cover. He does not wear that in the book. Nope, he doesn't. And the first 5 issues kind of conceptually basically, now the story of this one is that Morbius is a place called Brownville, which apparently is like an upstate New York. Now, apparently Brownville has got like no police force, which I'm like, really? Yeah, and apparently this is quite interesting. This actually first popped up in, of all things, Tales to Astonish. That's when it first shows up, and it pops up for Tales from 63. Appears for a small handful of issues of this Morbius book, and it appeared even in the more recent Morbius book. It didn't appear very much, surprisingly enough. Well, they credited basically, but yeah, Brownville was pretty much in this whole run, and they had this. Now you're probably thinking, okay, is there any like familiar characters, people like supporting characters? Not really per se, though. They do have some characters named Becky Barnes, and the weird thing is, despite the fact that her name is Becky Barnes, there's no mention of in fact if in fact that she's related to Bucky Barnes. Not really. There's also Henry Evans. There's also his mother Wanda. Yeah, it's like basically they make this whole freaking town like basically the basis of this book. And with the exception of like one issue, Brownville pretty much appears in this entire book. Yeah, that's the thing when it comes to this book. Hmm. Yes. Yeah, and they pretty much have Brownville, with the exception of like a couple issues. They have pretty much this particular. Now they do have this character Noah Saint Germain. He apparently was a runaway, and he was killed Morbius in like his like just a couple issues debut by basically ripping out his throat. Yes. Now they also have a new Rose appear in this book. Well, actually, not exactly new Rose per se. He was a character that Mark Guggenheim created for Amazing 600% Jackpot. Yep. He appeared in that miniseries, appeared in one issue of a Spider-Man, which I believe was at some point just a tie-up of a loose end from the book for Jackpot. And then they have appeared in the Michael Morbius book as pretty much like a regular villain for Morbius for reasons, which when he sees him like, who are you? Yeah, because Morbius has never met him at all. Nope, not really. Now, as for why in the world this book is set completely in this town, well, because this is basically what Morbius is. The only issues, shockingly, are not set in this town. There actually is a couple issues 6 and 7, which are set at Horizon Labs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and by issue 5, basically, of course, there's a bit of a time skip between issues 5 and 6, where apparently, say, Morbius has for months. Apparently, he's like the one in charge of the town. Yep. And by the way, the Michael Morbius appears in this book is, in fact, of all people, Dr. Octopus. Yep. And for some reason, they actually have, well, yeah, he's captured by Spider Man just so he can be brought to Horizon Labs for an issue. Yep, he's at Horizon Labs. Yeah, it's mostly a bit of a follow up from, let's just say, the 699.1. Yeah. Yeah, I know I'm kind of doing something while I'm basically trying to review this, but it's the only way to get this done. Hmm. Yeah. But yeah, after basically dealing with, well, yeah. Yeah, of course, Spider-Man himself is only here just for a couple issues, and that's basically it. Yeah, he's only here just for just a couple issues, and yeah, it was part of this Superior Spider-Man month. He appears in this book. He appears in just other books per se, just for like one whole month because it's Superior Spider-Man. So what do you expect? Yep, that's the way it is when it comes to these books. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's simple what it is. Now, in the case of basically what happens after this, after the whole thing with Spider-Man, he deals with the Rose, and well, he kind of comes to become in charge of the town itself for pretty much the last couple issues, and that's it. Yeah, the book just stops for reasons. Yeah, for some reason, just stops, and it kind of feels like you wrap up the story with the final issue of the series. Yes, kind of. That's kind of basically how you would basically explain it. Hmm. Yeah, and it's not a terrible series per se. It's just a series people probably just don't really remember. I like it. I really do. It's just that basically that it doesn't really feel like a Morbius book per se. And the biggest problem with the book is, well, lack of familiar characters. At least in the case of the second volume, the well, let's say the third volume for the series, they actually did something with that. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Then of course they have stuff with the Legion of Monsters appearing for the last couple issues of the series. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Brownville itself, of course, the movie theater, which Morbius called his home throughout this whole book, yeah, it's pretty much destroyed the by issue 8, and then by issue 9, they pretty much in the way kill off the Rose. Yeah, they kill him off in the end of the book. Hmm. And with him dead, they pretty much in the way took over his forces. Hmm. Yeah. Now, why did the book end per se after only 9 issues? From what I heard, unlike in the case of the Morbius book that Tully Ollie did, that was canceled sale. This one that was canceled because of the pandemic. This was canceled due to low sales. Yeah, and of course Morbius basically wore this goofy looking armor throughout this book. Yeah, for a book called Morbius, he just doesn't wear his attire. Now, as for why in the world the writer thought we got to bring him in, honestly, I have no idea of why they brought in the Rose for, but they did. And he gets killed off by the end of the book, and he's, well, they also give Corja, who she does appear in this book, but she's never seen again after this. Yeah, as for the town itself, apparently, like, it's brought up again in the fifth volume for the series, actually third volume, which is done by Vic Nolia, where basically he left the town because he was getting control. I love that book. Excuse me. I kind of wish basically they would basically just explain what happened to the town itself. It's interesting though. They basically took a suburb of Brooklyn, an area of Brooklyn, and made that like the primary base operations for, of all people, Michael Morbius throughout the whole book. And after this book wrapped up, popped up for one issue of All New Hawkeye, a couple issues of Unstoppable Wasp, one issue from the second volume for Champions, one issue of the third volume for Champions, mostly in the Morbius book, and its last of its appearance date was Hawkeye Freefall, and that was it for the actual for the town itself. As for Morbius, right after this book wrapped up, like what did he do? Like as soon as this book got canceled, that's a good question. What did he do after the book got canceled? Well, he popped up for an issue of Deadpool versus Gambit, Unbeatable Square Beats Marvel Universe. Basically, I have one-off issues, nothing on a regular basis per se. Just one-off, like a couple issues of Domino, an issue of Avengers, a couple issues of Obstacle Protectors, and then he got his own book, which didn't last very long. Yeah, he hasn't done very much. His last physical appearance day was Amazing Experiment number 92 BEY, and that came out just like 2 months ago. And that was the last time he physically appeared in a comic book. Yep. Yes, it was. As for why in the world they decided to basically not do much with the character, I have no idea. Do I think his characters are more worth? Yes. Yep. But I'm not much to say about it. It's an okay book per se, this one, but the Spider-Man Life Story was awesome. The rank I give this one, a 8 out of 10. Okay, so that's a particular review. I have one more comic corner to do, and then I'll finally do my first interview today, which will be case closed. Okay, thanks for doing.